Hello again everyone, my name is Derailious, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be going over Hypixel Plus, a resource pack built specifically for Hypixel, and more specifically in my case, Hypixel Skyblock, that I wanted to go over due to a lot of its interesting features, and things that I think separate it from some other resource packs. Before we begin, I do want to mention that it was made by my friend Icy, who has done a lot of really good stuff for the community as a whole over the past few years. He does a lot of compiling of textures and things like that on Alpha, so I wanted to make that clear. I'll also have the Hypixel Plus Discord as well as the Modrinth page for the resource pack linked down below, so you're able to easily pick it up. Without any further ado though, let's get started. One of the first things I want to make clear about this pack is that there are multiple versions of it depending on which version of Minecraft you're running. There's both a 1.8 variant as well as a modern variant, which includes multiple different versions, 1.20.4, 1.21.4, 1.21.5, and 1.21.8 as well. And the mods that you'll need are dependent on the version. Those will be shown on screen now. The pack itself I really like for multiple reasons, but I think the biggest is that it doesn't oversaturate my eyes. A lot of packs, specifically Skyblock packs, and this isn't really hate, me personally, I don't love it when I look at a pack and it's just overwhelming on my screen. I feel like Icy has done a really good job of making the visuals of the pack still look a little bit like Minecraft without going overboard and making everything just look absolutely ridiculous. I particularly like some of the additional features within the pack and some of the animated textures. Like, for example, here's my Abaphone, which is pretty funny. As you can see, it's the Abaphone Flip Dragon, and it's a physical little model, which is pretty neat. In terms, there's also the Royal Pigeon, which I think is a particularly good texture, and there's also a bunch of stuff related to armor, as you can see. I just think the visuals themselves are great. They're very pixelated, which I do appreciate, but they also look interesting enough and distinct enough for me to be able to point out different items on the auction house, for example. I do really like also that he's done a lot of extra stuff that he maybe didn't need to. For example, look at the accessory bag. Everything is textured pretty much, and it looks really good overall. A big thing for a lot of people is definitely going to be the armor texturing, and I think it looks very good as well. I like the way Storm looks, I like the way Shadow Assassin looks quite a bit. I just think the overall look of a lot of the Necron armor as well is just solid as a whole. Things just look better, I believe, with this pack on than without, and it really does a good job of making the textures for armor actually work. And from my understanding, it also works with dyes. As you can see, I have the very silly Lucky dye on this Storm gear, and it does in fact work. As you can see, it looks different than the guy next to me, who has, I believe, a different dye. I think this guy's using, Oasis dye. So as you can see, it does actually work, and it is compatible with the game's dye system, which is very nice to see. Another important thing to note, by the way, is that all of the game is included within this pack, and that means that Galatea is also included as part of the feature set here in terms of the resource pack. So if I head over to the axe shop, for example, you're going to see Canopy is textured, you're going to see the damaged axe and the decent axe. Then if you head over to Albert, I believe, the black holes are also textured as well. And the same goes for the hunting box, I believe, as well. There it is. And also David's cloak, of course, as well as the salts. I also very briefly wanted to go through some of the game's most popular weapons. So here they are. This is the Terminator, and here it is held. This is the Atom Split Katana, and there it is. The Dark Claymore is just a big sword, as you can see, big hunk of stone. I think the Giant Sword is also particularly large as well. This is the Hyperion, and yes, there are variants dependent on whether you have a Hyperion or an Estrella or a Valkyrie. There are different versions. There's the Aspect of the Void, and I think a funny one here is if I hit Shift, you can see it actually opens up in the middle to show that the effect of ether transmission is active. There's the Daedalus Blade, which I actually think looks really cool, kind of similar to the Midas Sword, but definitely very pretty. And there's also the Withercloak Sword, which, has its own texture associated with it. Just wanted to show some others. Here's the Halberd of the Shredded, and as you can see, it's a pretty large overall axe. And this one's pretty fun. Look at the Giant Sword in comparison to everything else. It's just a large weapon. Very funny, and I do like that it is significantly larger than normal. Going through some of the other things here is Sara armor. I have the helmet on wrong, but for now you can understand what it looks like. Here's Terror, which I think looks really good. All of the Kudra sets, in my view, just are really pretty and operate very well within their whole setup. Here is the Reaper armor set, as you can see. There it is activated. There's Fermento. As well, there is Jaded, or not Jaded, Glossy Mineral. As you can see, it just looks very, very glossy. Here's the Magma Lord armor, and the reason why the helmets aren't generating properly isn't a texture pack issue, it's just a overall issue with the modern version of the game. Here's Fig, which I think looks really cute, even though it's not a super endgame set, obviously, it just works out pretty well. Here's Bat Person, which I like quite a lot, honestly. I also have a skinned helmet here, so pretend the helmet doesn't look like this, but I still think it looks good. Here's Ember armor. Here is the Golden Hunter armor. I don't have Diamond yet, but we're working on it. For now, here's the Gold. Here is Devon armor. I know people are going to like this one. I really do. I think it just looks incredibly regal, kind of like a old Colosseum sort of guardian, I guess is the best way I could describe it. Here's Yogg for people who use Yogg. And finally, here's Abyssal armor, which really fits the scuba diver mentality there. Here are some of the RNG meters that I wanted to go over. For example, here's Devon's alloy, as well as many of the other items in the crystal nucleus. Here is some catacomb stuff, as you can see, which looks pretty good, and the fishes are also textured. Here's the Necron handle, as well as the scrolls. Here's floor 6, which as you can see, looks pretty interesting, and has the giant sword there. M6, same deal, as well as M7. There's Necron die, and there's the Claymore. Floor 5. Floor 4, if I could actually get there right. You can see the spirit stuff all kind of looks like each other. Floor 3, with the Adaptive set, as well as the Fuming Potato Book, as well as Necromancer's Brooch. I think the Potato Book was in a lot of them, but I just wanted to point it out. Floor 2, with the red scarf, as well as the Adaptive Blade here, and the Recoms, of course, look pretty nice. And here's some of Bonzo's stuff. The staff looks really funny, the mask looks there. Pretty scary, and the red nose is also there as well. Going over to Slayers, we have Inferno Demon Lord. As you can see, the Archfiend dice look pretty cool. The Rift Stalker Blood Fiend, the Vampire Slayer. There's the burger right there. This is the Judgment Core, as you can see, which is pretty cool. And the Sinful dice, as well as the Transmission Tuner, and the Pocket Espresso Machine looks pretty silly as well. Here's Sven, who honestly doesn't really have a ton of drops, probably hoping that we get a tier 5 Sven eventually. Here's Tarantula, which has all of the updated items. And finally, there's Revenant Horror, which as you can see, also has everything set up really nice. The experimentation table also has a few drops that are textured, but obviously the books aren't. I don't really have a lot else to say, but pretty much the entire game has been textured through this resource pack, and I like it quite a bit. I'll likely be using it on stream and in videos a lot more, and likely be using some of the textures in some thumbnails dependent on the circumstances. If you're interested in the pack, feel free to pick it up. It's not like I'm being paid for this video or anything like that, and I just wanted to make this video because I thought the pack was really cool, and it got a major update recently that makes it, super up to speed with everything in Skyblock. Let me know what you think. This was my first sort of pack video of any sort. I don't know if I'm going to do stuff like this in the future, so if you feel like I should do anything differently, let me know in the comments. At the end of the day, though, my name's Derailious. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end, and look to the future, fellas. I'll see you then.